this video, we'll take a look at using a sustain pedal with FL Studio and third-party plugins. Even if you don't actually have a foot pedal, or if you have an air pedal to go with your air guitar, you should keep watching, because by automating the right MIDI messages you can fake it. And if you put a small black box underneath your MIDI controller, no one will ever be the wiser. The most important thing is this foot pedal option. By default it's turned on, which means that sustain messages will be intercepted as soon as they reach FL Studio and used to extend the note lengths you play and record. It's mainly intended for instruments by ImageLine because none of their plugins respond to CC64 messages. But if this option is on, the sustain messages won't be able to reach anything else in FL Studio, such as third-party plugins or even the linking dialog. Lots of third-party instruments, such as Contact, will use sustain messages to do a lot more than just extend note lengths. With most virtual pianos, sustain messages will give you all sorts of subtle but wonderful sounds, such as the foot pedal mechanism, the dampers releasing the strings, and other resonances. Missing out on those is a crime against piano day, so you should make sure that sustain messages are reaching Contact by turning off the note length option and also creating a link to the CC64 parameter of your plugin. Now obviously you don't want to create that link again and again, so you have two options. The first is to create a global link for your sustain pedal. Now that I've created that link, it will work in my other projects too. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this approach because the link will only work when the Contact window has focus. If I click on some other window, such as the mixer or the browser, then the Contact window loses focus. It's still the current instrument and I can play it, but the sustain pedal stops working. So I'm going to delete that global link and try a different approach. The solution I prefer is to put an Omni link in my template projects. I'll open my favourite, which is the 4 Sends template, and I'll start by adding a temporary VST plugin to the channel rack. It doesn't matter which one. Next I'll link my foot pedal to CC64, and this time I'll turn on the Omni option, which means that the link isn't tied to a specific instrument or channel. Now I can remove the plugin and the link will survive in the remote control settings for the current project. Finally, I'll choose Save As and save the project file in my Templates directory. From now on, whenever I start a new project from that template, any instruments which recognise the sustain pedal will magically work, and I don't have to worry about window focus. I expect that ImageLine will start adding that Omni link to all their templates one day, probably the day after I upload this video, rendering it redundant. Whichever approach you choose, you'll find that in the piano roll, the note lengths won't be extended like they were before, but now you can edit the foot pedal events independently of the notes. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your music production, you pedal stomping bastards.